Community. You are listening to Lone Star 4.5 KC and 106. LP Conroe and .com.
Hi, thanks so much for tuning in. This is Stacy Harris, and you're listening to Making Connections. And we are a radio show all about networking and about how the people that God puts in our paths can just really change our lives, and how the connections that we make, people that we run into, things that are said to us sometimes in passing and sometimes on purpose, can really change our lives and make a difference. And so I feel like it's really important to always stop and think about those things, and wanted to create a show talking to people about how these connections that they make in life have changed their paths and put them on the course that they are on now. And I always like to start out with a networking tip. And I was thinking about it this morning, and I was thinking about a mentor that I had several years ago, and she put a lot of emphasis on follow-up. And she had this saying that some of you might have heard before called she would say, the fortune is in the follow-up. And when you are networking, it is so important that when you tell somebody you're going to do something, that you do it. And that you do it in the manner that you said you would. So if you tell somebody you're going to make an introduction when you meet them and you're chatting and they mention they need to meet somebody and you happen to know them, how important it is that you do what you say you're going to do. If you tell them, I'm going to have an email introduction to you by lunchtime tomorrow, then you need to make sure that that's in their inbox by 11:59, at the latest the next day. If you tell them you're going to share a book or a website, or you're going to call them and y'all are going to get together for coffee, all of those things, they are establishing you as a person of your word, and that you have integrity and that you do what you say you're going to do. Just remember that when you're networking with people, you're building relationships, you're planting seeds, and the way that you treat them is going to be a reflection to them of how you're going to treat people that they refer to you. So you want to make sure that you're taking care of people the way that you have promised that you will. So just remember that little saying. I think about it all the time. The fortune is in the follow-up, that it's in the follow-up when you make the phone call, when you do what you say you're going to do. A lot of times that's when things happen. That is when business happens. That's when referrals happen. That's when relationships are formed, when friendships are made. And all of those things are going to lead to a better life, a bigger network for you. So I hope that helps somebody out there and gets you thinking a little bit. And I'm really excited about our show today. We have Josh and Christin Cherry as our guests. They are the franchisors, creators of Delta Life Fitness. It is a women's fitness facility that has just moved their headquarters to the Woodlands. And they're going to be on the show today sharing with us a little bit about their journey. I think you're really going to enjoy their story. So please hang in after, sit through the commercial with us, and we will see you back in just a few minutes.
Hey guys, this is Connor.
This is Dick.
This is Chris.
And we're with the Ticket Stub Podcast every Thursday live at noon on 104.5 and 106.1 FM in the Conroe area. Also, anytime at irlonestar.com. You go to irlonestar.com/TTS. You can find all of our social media.
And don't forget, we give away 2 tickets to the Grand Theater on every show.
If you like movies and you like complaining or celebrating anything that has to do with the silver screen, check out the Ticket Stub Podcast and join us every Thursday at noon o'clock on Lone Star Community Radio.
So glad that you have tuned in with us today. Our guests today are Josh and Christin Cherry. They are with Delta Life Fitness. It is a women's fitness studio that has just moved. They've relocated from Florida and moved their headquarters to the Woodlands, and they are planning on taking the Woodlands by storm. And we have crossed paths, of course, the way I meet everybody, through networking, and have just really enjoyed getting to know both of them and the friendship that we have developed. And they have just a great story of the business that they've developed and where they're wanting to take it, and the people that they've been able to help along the way too. So thank you both so much for being on the show today. I'm so happy to have you all.
Oh, Stacy, thank you so much. It's a pleasure to be here. Thanks for having us.
You're welcome. I'm glad we video this because Josh has a really cute wife, and I hope y'all can see how cute she is. So if you're just listening, then you need to go to YouTube and you need to tune in because Josh, you did very well. Congratulations. Yeah.
Oh, well, thank you.
She's the quiet one in the relationship, but she needs to get some credit here too. So
Well, thank you, Stacy.
So there's four of us. I think you haven't met Robbie and Cassie
I
yet, but
haven't.
it's me, Kristen, Robbie, and Cassie. And yeah, me and Robbie are more we have the face for radio, so we like that. But
Yes.
but Kristen and Cassie, they do good on camera. So
there's a reason y'all picked them, right? Yeah.
that's right.
They had this big master plan.
Yes, to take over the world.
Exactly.
I got it. Well, I loved getting to visit a couple of weeks ago with Josh and with Kristen about how they got started and their story and all of that kind of stuff. So why don't y'all tell us first, how did y'all meet, you and Kristen? And
Yeah.
then how did you meet your business partners?
Yeah, so all four of us, we grew up in the same small little town in southeast Texas. Kristen was best friends with my little sister. We were lifelong friends, all went to the same high school. So we've known each other. I guess we've known each other.
I was in first grade class with his sister, so I've known his family, close with his family since I was in the first grade.
Yeah, so we've known each other.
Almost your whole lives.
Yeah,
pretty much.
forever.
Yeah.
And then I went off to the Marine Corps and I was deployed, and I used to always joke around with my little sister and tell her that I used to say, Kristen, that's my fiance. I'm gonna marry that girl one day. Just joking, of course. But then I was in Iraq one year, and she sent me, or my whole family sent me a big Christmas card signed by everybody, and Kristen signed it, Kristen, your fiance. And then when I came home from Iraq that year, I took her on a date.
You decided you'd make that dream come true. Yeah. Kristen, is that the true story?
That is the true story.
Okay, all
That
right.
is very
just
true.
making sure. Just making sure.
It's pretty close.
And what about your business partners? How did y'all meet?
Yeah, so
How did this start?
Cassie is Kristen's sister. So they're sisters, and then me and Robbie, just when we first started the boot camps, like I told you, I was doing a commissioning program at Texas A&M, and I was already in the Marine Corps. I was a PTI, a physical training instructor for the Marine Corps, and I was leading all the Corps cadets with their exercise and nutrition, and a group of Cub Scout moms wanted me to run an exercise class for them in the school parking lot, so I did that. Robbie and I, my brother-in-law, he would come into town, and he's always been my more business-minded, a partner. And so he came and saw what we were doing with the business side of it, and really fell in love with the business model. And me and him were always, we had several businesses before Dust Life Fitness of things we were going to try to do to create businesses. None of them ever worked out. Cassie and Kristen almost gave up faith a few times,
More than one.
By the time we told them we wanted to try Delta Life Fitness for real, they were both like, will you guys please just give it up?
We gave up at that point. Yeah. There was no, I don't know if you've met Josh, but he's pretty convincing on very many levels.
So anyway, that's how the four of us kind of came together to work together. We failed at many businesses between the four of us before, and so that's how we all started working together.
It's fun doing business with them. We talked to somebody before, and they said how lucky we were. We never thought about it this way, but he's like, I do this alone. Whether it succeeds or fails, the highs and lows, the good days, the bad days. He said it's all just kind of on me. He was like, you guys are lucky you have each other. And ever since then, I have really understood the blessing it is to work. Of course, working with family, it could be hard at times, but we have open communication. We work really well together. We see things on the same level. We all have our areas of expertise, so there's no clashing there. And then, of course, when there's good and bad days, we can celebrate or we can cry together. Yeah. So it's a true blessing.
So talk about your roles. What are the different roles that each of you have within the company?
Yeah, so in a franchise model, Stacy, I know you're aware, but in a franchise model, we thought at the franchise level, it was going to be like a gym back office, and that's really not true. Once you decide to go franchise, it's a completely separate business model. So that business model has to make sense, has to have profitability. It has a whole different structure. We were lucky enough to get some really good coaching from one of the old VPs of franchising from Dunkin' Donuts, and she kind of showed us how to structure it. So the way you have to have it is, franchising has three natural departments. You have recruitment, which is finding the new franchise partners. Then you have development, which is everything from the time the franchise agreement is signed until a studio or a restaurant gets opened, right?
Right.
And then you have, once it's already open, you have just the day-to-day operation. So I Josh, primarily run the recruitment. Robbie runs the development. Kristen runs the day-to-day operations. And Cassie is very attention to details. Like, she's really good at that kind of stuff. She handles all the legal, HR, accounting, financing, all of that. So all four of us have our very clearly defined roles.
Tell us a little bit, explain to everybody, what is Delta Life Fitness?
I'll let Kristen do that one.
Oh, okay. So it is a group fitness for women. We are a very quick in and out type of thing. We serve busy women, working or mothers. So it's 30 minutes in and out. It's high intensity interval training. What makes us unique is we focus on women, from our programming to the studio. Everything speaks to the women of the community, which is our second unique. Is we're really big, tight knit community. Of course, get a bunch of women in the same room with same goals. They're a really good community. Positive, uplifting, not very competitive. So it really breeds a really, really good community. And then we also play on technology. So all of our workouts are science-based. So we go off the heart rate monitors, and we have those displayed in all the studios. And so as people work, they can understand what their heart rate is doing.
If anybody's familiar with Orange Theory, it's very similar to it's a boutique fitness. It's very similar to Orange Theory, but like she said, built just for women. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's we have a lot of fun. We bring the fun to fitness, which can be a little difficult at times, but Delta Life is really a lot of fun. We have things like free weights, battle ropes, tower flip machines, things to make you feel strong and powerful.
I like that it's just 30 minutes.
Oh, yes.
Because you can do anything for 30 minutes,
You
right?
really can.
Yeah.
I mean, sometimes you feel like you won't make it.
Yeah.
But it is so cool to know. I mean, can't tell you how many times that I'm just like, oh, I can't work out today. But really, 30 minutes, there's no excuse. Like, just get in there and do it.
Right. Yeah. Now, you develop the training for your trainers, correct? Okay.
Yes. So I come from I feel like most fitness industry people come from they've been training in gyms since they were 12 years old, or they were into sports and all that kind of stuff. I actually don't come from that background. So I have a different outlook, in my opinion, compared to most. So I never thought working out was fun. I was never this really super in shape gal. So what I bring to it is a different perspective to keep women interested, because honestly, there's so many things out there that you could do that will get you similar results.
Right.
But the key is long-term success with your fitness. And so you have to find something that you can stick with, something that's manageable, something that you look forward to. And so our programming is a little bit more unique. The movements, the style, all that sort of thing is just, it's fun. It's not the same old repetitive thing that you would do every day in a box gym.
What made y'all decide to go just for the women? For that market?
So we are extremely coachable, and almost to our detriment sometimes.
True story.
So we first we had the gym in College Station. We had a 2,500 square foot studio at this point that we had taken the Cub Scout moms, and we had gyms full of men and women. Robbie and Cassie had started one in Southeast Texas as well. They had men and women. And we decided we were going to launch an online boot camp because we were doing so well at the in-person one that we decided we'd take it digital. This is 2012. We got a $5,000 credit card, spent every penny of that to build a website. We shot videos for a whole week. Really funny. So we did all this, and then we got a little attention with that online boot camp that we did, and Robbie submitted us in for this Forbes running, fastest growing online company.
Oh, wow.
Funny, right?
Shoot for the stars.
Yeah, we got selected as one of the finalists, and as one of the finalists, you got a free coaching session with a coach from Forbes.
Okay.
We did one coaching session with a coach from Forbes, and he asked us the question. He's like, well, who's your target market? We didn't know what that meant. So we told him, I don't know. Back then, it's funny how much we've learned. Now we write articles about target market.
Right.
Like, target market is everything for us. But back then we told him we had no idea. And he's like, well, just pick, who's the person in your gym right now that you serve the best? And I was like, Maria. And so he was like, well, write down everything about Maria. And, that's the kind of customer we want to go for. He was teaching us just basic customer stuff.
Right.
And so we wrote down everything about Maria. And we were like, well, Maria's a girl. Let's just go for girls.
Oh, okay.
So extremely coachable, like I said. So, and that's kind of a silly story. But once we started to look at it, we started to look at, you look at Curves, you know, and we started to understand the power of niche marketing. We started following Seth Godin and a lot of this other stuff. You look at Curves in 2006, it was the largest fitness franchise in the world. In 2006, they had 11,000 worldwide units, and they were doing $7 billion in system sales a year. That's impressive.
That is.
So there's definitely a niche there. There was definitely a need, and we also saw that the more we started looking at that and researching Curves and some of the other women's only models, we really started to notice that, you know, in today's world, we have to be so careful with men and women and not discriminating one sex or the other. But there is a comfortability factor to women wanting to go work out and only be with other women. Like, that really is a safe place for them, and they really like that. And there was a need for that, and we saw it, and we made the decision almost overnight. Once we kind of looked at all the research and made up our mind, we went back to the gym the next day, and Robbie still tells the story that he had to go up to a couple of guys in his gym and buy he bought them gym memberships down the road.
Well, that was very nice.
That
was
the
right
hard
thing to do.
It's hard for him, but nice.
But since then, like I would, you know, from now on, any business I ever do, I will go super narrow on the niche and the target market that I serve, just because you can serve them so much better if you try to do 8 to 80 anybody, you end up helping nobody.
Right.
So, you know, it was we got luck. We kind of stumbled into this one, but if I have several other business models in my head that will come out in the next 10, 15, 20 years, and they'll all be super niche. I just really believe in that.
Right. How did you, it's one thing to start out an individual facility or your individual boot camps, but y'all have actually been able to franchise yourselves, which that's huge, being able to do that. So tell us a little bit about how did you get from one-man show, basically, into getting a lot of people to buy into this idea of this facility and to invest their money to become a franchisee with you?
Yeah, good question, Stacy. So I had an MBA, and we had one studio, and we just perfectly franchised it. I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
It's funny because we all think that's what happened, right? Like, you know, I'm 30-something years old, and I never would have thought that I would have created a franchise with 20-plus units, 20 on the way to 200, you know, and we're going to do great things. We started with one, and then you get a brother-in-law and sister-in-law who want to, you know, hey, that looks like it's working really well. Let me try that.
Right.
And then you get, I think my dad was number 3. My dad
Good old
opened
faithful.
the third one, and then a high school buddy opened number 4.
Okay.
And we were just licensing at the time. And then once we started growing as a license, because we didn't know what else to do, like, oh, let's just draw up a one-page license agreement, you know, and then eventually we found out that, hey, this is kind of crossing over the territories of franchising. We started learning what franchising was and bringing on the investments and actually going through the whole process with the attorneys to become a franchise. And then we went to the International Franchise Association, and we thought we were one of a kind. Like, we were the only ones that had, like, friends and family come on first, then licensed, then eventually become a franchise.
Right.
Whenever we got to IFA, we found out that almost all the big brands that you can think of, that really is the track for most franchises, even Dairy Queen. There's funny stories about Dairy Queen still in Texas that still have just one-page license agreements. Yeah. And they can serve whatever they want. And
they do however they want to do it.
It's actually pretty funny, but yeah, we kind of just stumbled into it as a business model, and now I love it. There's nothing more American than the franchise model. I love it. It's the American dream. It gives people that outlet to. It's going into business for yourself, but not by yourself.
Yeah. I always say, I know a lot of our listeners know that I have a networking group franchise called Network in Action that I bought about 18 months ago, and I always tell people it's a business in a box.
Right.
That's what I loved about it, because the structure was already there, the website was there, the procedures and, you know, all of that kind of stuff. It's up to me to build it and to put my spin on it and my groups that I have. And all of us as franchise owners all have different styles and different ways that we want to build our groups and things like that. But that basic structure is there, and you have that to fall back on. And so I think it's a great, it wasn't ever something I'd ever considered before. You know, I'd had my own business that I'd started from nothing and for 10 years, and then to look at a franchise, and I kind of went, oh, this is so much easier.
That's probably what drew it to you. You knew all the work that went into it.
That was it. I'd had this idea to start my own networking group for a long time, but I'd never pulled the trigger on it because I knew how much work it was
Yeah.
going to be, and it was daunting to me to think about having to do all that and do it by myself.
Yeah.
So many
That was-
simple things. Just even
Yes.
the membership form, you know,
Oh,
like
yeah.
just not having to create that.
Yes.
Like,
Just all of those kinds of things. Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, there is still a lot more to the story. We're going to take a commercial break here for just a minute. Please stay with us and stay and listen to the rest of Josh and Christin Cherry's story in Delta Life Fitness.
Listen in Mondays at noon to hear Conroe news from local nonprofits, businesses, upcoming events, Conroe Park events, news stories, and information that matters to you with your host, Margie Taylor of Taylorized PR. For more information about being a guest, visit irlonestar.com/Conroe Culture.
Remember to download the Lone Star Community Radio app from your Google Play Apple Store. Bring Montgomery County's community radio with you anywhere with your smartphone or tablet. If you are in the Conroe area, tune in on FM 104.5, 106.1. If you are on your computer, bookmark irlonestar.com as your internet radio station. Lone Star Community Radio broadcasting 24/7 from the heart of downtown Conroe, Texas.
With Stacy Harris, and I have with me today Josh and Christin Cherry with Delta Life Fitness. They and their business partners have recently moved their organization, their headquarters with Delta Life Fitness to the Woodlands, and they are building a new facility that they just broke ground on, or you finished it completely. The facility is getting ready to open, right? In spring.
the actual building is finished. They're
Yeah.
building out the inside right now.
Okay.
So it's going
All
to be, it's about 7 more weeks of construction.
Okay. All right.
But we
And-
are getting close.
Yes, very close. So you now have how many franchises? Florida, California. How many franchisees do you have?
It's about 20,
About
a little over 20.
Okay. So we were talking in the first segment just really how they got started and how they went from being just them and their one gym into multiplying and growing, and the benefits of a franchise. And so I wanted to finish talking a little bit about that, of just how do you make connections with people and get them on board to become a franchisee? What is your magic formula for doing that?
Yeah. And before I answer that real quick, just for your listeners, Stacy, you're absolutely amazing at that, by the way.
Oh,
like making connections is perfect for you because, and you can tell just from the people you meet in the community when they hear Stacy Harris, like you're just so good at that. So I've learned a lot from you actually, watching you, and like you started the show off today talking about the fortune is in the follow up. You're so good at that, and you start with a servant heart, and you have a go giver mentality, and you start with how can I help you. That's how you do it, right? Like you asked, how do we do it, and how do we start those relationships? Because we've only been here a short time, like you said, but we've made a big splash, and we have a lot of people super excited about the business opportunities and what we're doing. And I think a lot of people get networking wrong, right? Like, how many times have you seen somebody go to the networking breakfast or whatever it is, stand up, give their 60-second commercial, and leave, and then think, well, that networking's no good. Like, I didn't get
anything out of that.
I didn't get one deal out of that, right? Like, you have to think of networking. You know what the magic in networking is? It's everybody talks about how important, me and you were talking about it, websites and SEO, search engine optimization, and Google. Google's great if somebody doesn't already know somebody, right? Like Google is the #1 thing for business. If I'm going to Google like catering service, then yeah, you want to be high on Google. But what's even better than that is if I know Julie, the lady who does catering.
Yes.
And I have a relationship with Julie, and I know her son John and her daughter Samantha, right? Like if I know Julie, I don't even need Google. Like that's the way you really get the most out of networking.
That's right.
So I think that's what we've done. We didn't come to the Woodlands and tell everybody just buy our franchises. You know, we've come here, and for the last year now, we've served, and we've worked with We've worked with different groups to show them how they can grow their membership. We've went to other fitness professionals and, hey, how can we help you? And, hey, have you tried to grow your memberships? Look at how we do our memberships. And when you do that, and when you serve and you give and you have the giver mentality, people then, one, you build a relationship.
Right.
Two, they see you as an expert because you're not trying to just bait and switch and sell them something. You're showing them your expertise, and when you show them their expertise, they have more faith in the product that you own, like you were saying earlier. So
Invest in you.
I think that's one of the best things we've done since we've been here is we've just really focused on building real relationships and giving by the way, like, you can do that when you've been a practitioner and you know some things, right? Like, if you have a good business or product, say you sell insurance or franchises or whatever it is, if you're a good practitioner in that field, then you'll know a lot about that, right? And if you know a lot about that, you can help other people with questions they're going to have about it to the point where they're going to now see you as the expert. And when they need that service or product, they're going to come to you.
Right. Yeah. It's so true. It is. I mean, I totally believe that. And it always, it's interesting to me. It's not always the people that you pour into, that you share your expertise with. That's not necessarily where it comes back to you, but it always comes back to you somehow.
It really does.
Through somebody else or somewhere else or years later, when you cross paths and people are in a whole different spot. And it's true. It's very, very true.
And we have to protect our time too sometimes, but because Kristen and I will do it. Like, there was I won't say any names or companies, but there was, we're opening a new gym here in the area. And so if we rewind 6 months ago, we met this super awesome lady. She was working with another group, and she wanted to have lunch. And she saw that we were with Delta Life Fitness and saw what all we were doing, and wanted to just kind of pick our brain about how we did some of the things. And it was kind of one of those meetings where you're like, would love to go help this lady, but man, like, I have vested stakeholders that I need to protect and give my time to.
Yeah.
And it's when you feel good when you put it on the calendar, but then it comes up and you're like, dang it.
Yeah.
Like, I should be working right now.
Yes. Yeah.
But I'm gonna go take this lunch, and then you go and you tell them all you can, and you help. And you show them everything you can, and I even I got to run because I've got a real meeting, and then left and was like, okay, that was fine. 6 months later, that lady is opening
her own gym?
a studio.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I thought I knew how this story ended. Yes.
It was just one of those meetings that, at the time you're like, wow, am I taking it? And so me and Kristen say all the time, like, your show being called Making Connections, there's always those, you have to be smart about your time, but there's so many meetings. Every time you make a connection, you never know where that's going to go.
You don't.
You never know.
It's so true. Yeah. Yeah. To me, when stuff like that happens, and it's happened to all of us that decide to invest in other people, it always evens out somehow. It really does. So you just kind of chalk it up to, hey, I did what I thought I was supposed to do. I was as good to that person as I could be, and it'll come back around to me eventually.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think it ever happens immediately, right? Like, it takes
It
so
takes
much
time. It takes so much time, and that kind of just goes back to the whole thing of just don't give up.
Right.
Is you have to stick with it long enough. And I was having lunch with some girlfriends right before Christmas. There's a group of us that we all get together, usually like the week before Christmas, and just kind of reflect on the year and where we've been and all that kind of stuff. We're all business owners, and several of us, we've been together 10 plus years now, and we were just talking about how those of us who decided to stick it out, we're still standing. We're here. We have success. We have good stories to tell. Everything is evened out. It's working out the way we want it to. And then we were thinking about all the people that we've crossed paths with that didn't stick with it, that disappeared, that, for whatever reason, for some people, it wasn't the right thing.
Right.
Yeah.
But how glad we were that we stuck with it. And so it really does make a difference. And I know a lot of it is the reason, what is the reason that
Your
you
why,
do what you do? What is your why? And so I wanted to ask Kristen, tell us what is some great success stories that you have from the ladies that you have worked with, and
Oh man.
people that you've met in the gym. Give us a couple of your favorite
Yeah,
ones.
that is probably definitely my reason why is
Uh-huh.
to watch these women come in and be self-conscious or not confident, and then they just make this transformation. And sure, it's weight loss, like you're gonna get that, but it is
Yeah.
all the time so much more. And a lot of times you don't see it immediately, or maybe you never even learn the story. But we opened up the studio, our first one in Florida, and we had so many women come in, and they felt comfortable to come in because it was women only. So they felt like it was a safe place for them to go.
Right.
But they all looked terrified when they walked in, and I forget that feeling of the first time walking into something like that. And I've been in their shoes before to be uncomfortable like that, so I could relate with them, and I just encourage them, tell them to keep on going, and they've made a fantastic transformation. And then it started all over again when we opened up our second studio. And I was standing there waiting for everybody to come in, and this woman literally walked in, looked like she was going to throw up. And I was like, oh, it's all over again. So, one of the ones I didn't understand, she had probably been with us for a year and a half, and we have something called a Little Black Dress Gala. We celebrate at the end of a 4 to 6 week challenge with this Little Black Dress event. Everybody wears little black dresses
It's a lot
and
of
invite
fun.
their spouses. And
Does Josh wear a little black dress?
he does. He looks so great in it too. But she had
I'll
come-
be at the next one. Yeah.
You have to be at the
Okay,
next
I
one.
will.
Yeah, you
I
have
will.
to.
It is so cool to watch them feel good in their own skin.
Yeah.
And dress up. But this one, and that's what you see. But this one woman approached me, and she said, I just like starts tearing up. Of course, I start tearing up because I'm emotional to all this.
Yeah.
She said, I just want you to know that, a year ago, I was almost going through a divorce. My confidence was out the window. It caused my marriage to be terrible. She was a teacher. She said her students could tell she was suffering. And I wish you could have seen them, her and her husband that night. They were out on the dance floor the entire night. He was just like, you could look in his eyes and just see the love for her. It was so awesome. And she's been to like 3 galas since then, and I always get to see her and her husband together. And I remember that because she had the courage to come into the studio, that it helped mend her relationship. I mean, of course, there's medicines that they can get off of with becoming healthy, but another woman was she lost 80 pounds at that point. Of course, she probably lost more after that, but at that point, she had lost 80 pounds. And her confidence was so good that she actually quit her job that she was miserable in and opened up a charity for homeless women.
Wow.
She was able to. It's funny how the confidence, not only in your own skin, but the confidence in your professional life.
abilities.
Yes, like she believed that she could quit this job that she felt stuck in before and open up a charity for women that were struggling, like she had once done. So. Those are some pretty powerful stories, along with, of course, like we just had one woman that lost 80 pounds. I have never met her, but I've already been stalking her on Facebook since I've heard her transformation, and I cannot wait to go talk to her because I feel like she'll have a similar story.
And it is so life-changing. It's one thing when people tell you, oh, you look good, but it's a whole other thing when you know that you look good. When you can look in the mirror and see the changes and feel the transformation when it's such an inside-out kind of thing.
Crystal and I underestimated. We thought it was just the weight loss. It's
not. It's so much more than that.
It's the confidence. It's their career, and women are really the matriarchs of the family. So what we see is once they get all that going, the husband, the kids.
There's a reason for that saying: "If Mama ain't happy, nobody's happy."
Oh, yes.
It sets the whole tone.
It does.
Absolutely,
It does.
Absolutely. Yes. We could talk about this for a long time.
Oh,
But we've got to go to a commercial break really quick. But y'all stick with us. We're going to be back with Josh and Christin Cherry with Delta Life Fitness right after the commercial break. Thanks.
A Lone Star Community Radio is looking for those who are interested in hosting their own talk show, with monthly and weekly slots available on Conroe's FM 104.5, 106.1, and on irlonestar.com. Start your own podcast, create your first YouTube channel, and be on TV. Contact Lone Star Community Radio online at irlonestar.com or call the station message line at 936-647 3776 to take your first step into the radio world.
Lone Star Community Radio presents the Lone Star Radio Troupe. This talented cast will perform radio plays right here in the Lone Star Studios located in downtown Conroe. There will be a new performance every first Sunday of the month. And if you miss the broadcast, just go to Lone Star Community Radio's podcast or YouTube anytime during that month. Go to OurLoneStar.com archives to find the Lone Star Radio Troupe's latest play that's available. This is Lone Star Community Radio, Conroe's 104.5 FM and 106.1 FM community station. Find us on the web at irlonestar.com. Lone Star Community Radio is a supporter to the performing arts in Montgomery County, Texas.
You're listening to Making Connections with Stacy Harris, and I have with me today Josh and Christin Cherry with Delta Life Fitness. They are creators and founders of it is an all-women's fitness facility, and they have grown into a big company with a lot of franchisees across the nation, across the world at one point. Is that the goal?
It will happen.
Yes, yes.
It will happen.
And they've just moved their world headquarters how about that? They just moved their world headquarters to the Woodlands, Texas. And we've just been talking a little bit about their why for doing their business and the people that help them get there and all of the people that keep them going and continuing to build this dream that they have. And so we were talking a little bit about the commercial break. And during the commercial break, and one thing that I wanted to make sure that we talked about is just who are some key people that you met along the way for both of you that encouraged you when you were down, planted an idea, kept you going, anything like that, or just gave you a great idea?
Yeah, so you mind if I take this one?
Yeah, no, you definitely need to tell the story of Cody.
So making connections, right? Like, and one of the things we talk about all the time is you're really only one connection away from like that next great thing happening. And we always talk about opportunity happening or being lucky. I hear people say that all the time, like, I got lucky. It's, the old saying, like, the harder I work, the luckier I get. Yeah. So quick story about something that was kind of revolutionary for our entire company, off of just one connection to the next. So we're growing. I'm going through flight school at the time, Marine Corps flight school. I'm in Florida. Kristen's running a boot camp in a warehouse, really, is what it was. And we wanted to join a network or a program that teaches you how to grow your gym. So we joined this program called Net Profit Explosion. Sean Greeley is CEO of Net Profit Explosion, great company. But we joined this networking group, and they put you through a curriculum to learn how to grow and maximize profit at the gym level, right? I dove in on nights and weekends outside of flight school, learning this stuff, learning Facebook ads, every spare minute of my life, like learning Facebook ads. And because of that, I started making videos and putting them in this private group of all these Net Profit Explosion people, of all the success we were having with, every time we would run something at Delta Life with Facebook ads, I would make a video and post it in the group for all them to see. Right. And one guy, we're in Florida at the time, one guy in California named Cody, which I think you've met actually.
Oh, yeah.
You did? Yeah, he came at one of the networking breakfasts. Yeah. So this is before, I didn't know Cody, but some guy in California, he's also in the group, and he starts getting a lot of value out of the Facebook ad videos I'm making, and he would make comments, and so just putting a lot of work to understand Facebook ads and this process through MPE, and would post these videos, and Cody would comment on it. Well, I have to move for the Marine Corps from Kristen and Cassie and Robbie stay in Florida to run headquarters, but I had to go to California for about 16 months, and they all had to stay behind. And it's one of those times where you're like mad at God, like, why do I got to do this? I'm leaving my kids, like I'm missing football seasons, so I'm mad, right? So go to California. On the way there, I put something on Facebook like, hey, heading to California, don't have a place to stay. Anybody know, like...
At the time, he thought, I'm just going to go to California for a second, and I'll come back to you guys.
16 months later. Anyway, so Cody, this guy Cody, that I've never met before, posts on Facebook like, hey, man, I have a RV in my front yard. You can stay there. So I stayed.
When I hear RV, I always think of Christmas Vacation and, Randy Quaid.
I know.
Pretty much it.
So
the picture in my mind.
because of these Facebook videos and stuff that I had given to this group, Cody offers to let me stay.
Free place to stay.
Yeah, because he's like, he even admits it now, like he was going to pick my brain about like marketing and like how I grew Delta Life the way we did. Like, so, you know, so I go and I stay in his camper for a few weeks before I finally get a place to stay. But during the few weeks of being in that camper, me and Cody formed a relationship. We started working together. I would go to, I didn't have any gym buddies, so I would go to the Marine Corps, do my pilot thing all day. And then afterwards, I would go to, Cody had a gym, 181 Fitness. I would go to his gym and I would help him like mark out, I would like how he was going to do his marketing to get 181. And he was like, man, you're really good. Kind of like I was telling you, like I wasn't never trying to sell Cody a gym. I was just teaching him what I knew. And in the process, he was like, you know what? Instead of recreating all this for 181, why don't I just give me one of those Delta Lives? Like, you're really good at this. But Cody at the time was like, hey, you know, I want to open a Delta Life and I have an investment buddy that comes to my gym. He just said investment buddy. I'm thinking, yeah, everybody's got like an investment buddy.
Right.
He was like, would you mind coming to his house for me and just, if he asks you questions about it, will you answer it? So he'll back me to open my own Delta Life. I was like, sure, man. So he asked me to do this favor. We go to this mansion up in the hills in San Diego.
This wasn't an investment buddy.
This was
real investment.
This was an investment company.
Ah.
This was the majority owner of an investment company that owns, you know, almost 200 restaurants. I mean, they're huge. They're one of the biggest investment companies. Number one franchisees for the Hardy system several times over. But I didn't know this. We go to his house. I sit down. The guy grills me like Shark Tank style for like 15 minutes.
Yeah.
I'm like, I'm just here helping Cody. Like, what's this guy grilling me? Right? We get through that, and he starts laughing. He's like, man, this is a great model. You know, I think I'll back Cody, but I might want to do even more. Would you mind coming and talking to our CFO and our board? So I went down to this high rise in San Diego and again went through the Shark Tank thing with the CFO and the board. And anyway, that one random connection and work I put into helping Cody early on at 181 led to, we ended up doing a master franchise agreement with this investment company in California. They ended up buying 30 of our studios to open in California. They've opened the first 2 already down in San Diego with another 28 in the pipeline. They've been a huge support for us. They're actually the company that helped us make the franchise transition.
Okay.
And as if that's not, like, that's amazing, but it doesn't even begin to stop there. Then the investment guys put us in touch with our new corporate investor. You know, they see him at a trade show, tell him about what we're doing. He flies down to Florida, sees what we have going on. He backs us, and we now have venture capital backing at the headquarters level. And then he's invested, so he brings in Lynette, you know, the franchise consultant who was the VP of Dunkin' to help us. So, you know, out of one little connection with this Cody guy, we got a master franchise agreement in California. We've got venture capitalists backing at the headquarters level, and we've got a franchise consultant who grew Dunkin' during their largest growth run. I mean, just an amazing connection story that spawned out of it. That could have, you know, those sitting on your couch, those opportunities don't come find you.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
You know? So anyway.
Or being selfish and not wanting to help, you know.
Somebody else.
You truly wanted to help somebody, so it became a really good relationship that led into this. And,
Oh, that's a great story. I love that.
So I forgave God because he was helping
Because
me.
he sent you to California?
He's got a plan.
I get impatient
He sees the
sometimes.
big picture when we don't.
He really does. I get impatient sometimes, but after I got back from California and all that had taken place, I was like, okay, I see.
Wow. Oh, good for you. My goodness.
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about, you've mentioned you were in the military, Marine, and the transition from, because I know for a lot of veterans, there's a struggle of going from military life into business life and making, you know, acclimating to that. We have a mutual friend named Terry Weaver who started an organization called the VEL Institute. Stands for Veterans, Entrepreneurs, and Leaders, and the whole purpose of it is to help veterans get integrated back into regular civilian life and that kind of thing. So tell us, what was that like for you? Was it a hard transition, or were you just so busy already thinking about Delta Life that you were out of jail and
Yeah, it's
ready
good.
to keep going?
It's a good question because the Marine Corps is a big part of our life for 13 years. I mean, it's it was great to me and the kids and our family, and it's the way we lived for a long time. The transition was probably a little easier for me because if you haven't noticed, I'm like the least threatening Marine in the planet. Like.
Could you imagine him yelling at somebody? He tried to do that at the office whenever he came back to all the women-only staff that he had. It didn't work out the same.
It didn't work. They laughed. Yeah.
So it was actually awkward for me being in like having to try to be Mr. Marine. So because it was harder for me to try to be that guy in the Marine Corps, leading the civilian life is a lot easier for me. I had to put on a show, and I had, tried to act tough and be the tough Marine leader. That wasn't natural for me. I'd say the easiest thing that made it, so I guess the real transition for me was after after going to Iraq several times, and they sent me back to Texas A&M, because after I went to Texas A&M, from then going through flight school and creating Delta Life and becoming an officer, I was much more in tune with the civilian world. So by the time I actually made my transition, I had all that. So, but the hard transition for me was going from all those deployments and being enlisted to being dumped off into college at Texas A&M. That was a hard transition because I just didn't have patience, right? In the Marine Corps, like if you slept last night, like you don't have any excuse, like you need to get it done. And just seeing some of the the college kids, like all the reasons they would tell their professors why they didn't have time to get their paper done. It was just, I've since like, it doesn't bother me near as bad, but it was, I was just like, what do you mean? Like, do your homework.
No excuses, get it done. Well, I think it's great, the transition that you were able to make and the business that y'all have built together as a family. And thank you for all your years of service, and for Christin and your family, because I know y'all made a lot of sacrifices for him to be able to do that. So I think that what y'all have to offer, there's so many people that are out of work right now, laid off, been in the oil and gas roller coaster, and they're ready to get off of it, transitioning from military life, whatever it is. And people are look at franchises. And so I really want to encourage any of our listeners, if they are thinking about going out and doing something on their own, to be sure and contact Josh and Christin about the possibility of a Delta Life fitness gym. You're not necessarily looking for people who know anything about fitness, but that are looking that just have a good head for business.
That's it.
Can be successful.
Yeah, strong business
coachable.
Women,
Yeah. So tell us exactly what you're looking for.
So we're looking for a few things. We're looking for somebody who's, if they're going to be so we're looking at the bottom level, we're looking for just some good staff and employees to help us out. We need some child care workers. We need good trainers and coaches. We need sales associates. We need managers, because we're going to be opening a lot of studios in the area. So we need all of those things. And Kristin's actively hiring right now for the 2920 and Gosling location for all of those roles. But then for franchise partners, we're looking for somebody who's financially qualified, or can get there, and we can help them. And we're also looking for people who have business experience. Have they run some kind of a business before? Do they know how to file business taxes? Those sort of things. And then do they have, the networking ability? The number one factor that's going to make a Delta Life successful is, can you get out in the community and get people excited?
Build the business.
Everything from the time somebody shows up for that first class on, everything, like we talked about, everything else from there on in the business is done for you. The workout, the program, the marketing, everything. The only variable is, do you have what it takes to go out in the community and get people to come try your class, right? So strong, confident, business-minded women that are comfortable with that, that's who we're looking for.
Okay, great. Christin, what is the best way to get in touch with you guys?
You could go to the website, deltalifefitness.com. There's a little button at the bottom of the thing that says help. You can always submit a ticket through that, or Christin, CHRISTIN at Delta Life Fitness, and of course Josh at Delta Life Fitness.
Okay, great. Well, thank you both so much for being on the show today.
Thanks,
I've loved
Stacy.
having you and hearing your story. I know it has inspired a lot of people that are listening to it. And again, if you are interested in finding out more about Delta Life Fitness, please be sure and reach out to Josh or Christin. And I would love to invite any of you who are networkers and you want to come out and meet some great people, to come to one of my networking action meetings. I have 4 groups that meet in the Woodland Spring Conroe area. and they each meet on a monthly basis. So if you would like a personal invitation from me, if you'll just reach out to me, it's Stacy at networkinaction.com, STACY. No E. If you put an E, it's not me. Just remember it that way. So we're going to take a quick commercial break, and we'll be right back.
The Texas A&M AgriLife Extension Service has been dedicated to educating Texans for over a century. In 1915, the Extension Program was established under the federal Smith-Lever Act to deliver university knowledge and agricultural research findings directly to the people. Ever since, AgriLife Extension programs have addressed the emerging issues of the day, serving diverse populations across the state. Texans turn to Extension for solutions in horticulture, agriculture, 4-H and youth, and family and consumer sciences. Extension agents respond not only with answers, but also with resources and services that result in significant returns on investment to boost the economy. Join us Fridays at 1 o'clock for the AgriLife Extension Hour.
Hi, you're listening to Making Connections with Stacy Harris, and I just want to say thank you again to Josh and Christin Cherry with Delta Life Fitness for being my guest today. Loved hearing your story of how you have built your business. It is very inspiring to me and a big encouragement to me as well. So thank you guys again for being on the show, and wanted to just announce a couple of things that are coming up that I think might be of interest to some of our listeners. Two of my Network in Action members that I have, Martha Shower and Gabe Darty, they are hosting on this Thursday, February 15th from 10 to 12 at the Woodlands Chamber of Commerce. They're going to have a class that's called Show Me the Money, Investor Opportunities, and Gabe is a real estate investor. Martha is with North American Title. The name of Gabe's business is Vertical House Buyers, and basically they buy houses in an as-is condition, and then they go in, they flip them. You know, for a lot of people that were affected by Hurricane Harvey and their house is just a total wash and they don't want to mess with it, they just want to walk away from it. These are the guys that you call. They come in, they buy your house from you. They are always looking for investors to invest in these properties. They take care, do all the work for you, and then after the work is done and the house is sold, as an investor, you're able to enjoy some of the profit with that. So Gabe actually mentors people on how to become an investor, real estate investor. So wanted to invite everybody to come out to that. Again, it's called Show Me the Money, 10 to noon, the Woodlands Chamber of Commerce. And you do need RSVP. You can RSVP to Martha Shower. And her email address is martha@nat.com. Stands for North American Title. martha@nat.com. So if you have any questions about that, you can reach out to me. And then I mentioned earlier in the show about a friend of ours, Terry Weaver, with the Vell Institute, Veterans, Entrepreneurs, and Leaders. His nonprofit has been developed to help veterans acclimate back into civilian life, and he feels like a great way to do that is to have them mix and mingle with entrepreneurs and leaders in the community that can help them with that transition. So he's going to be a guest speaker for my Network in Action groups. I'd love to invite anybody who would like to come. It's going to be February 28th. It's a Wednesday morning from 9 to 10:30. We're going to be at Rayford Office Park. It's 1310 Rayford Road. So again, if you want any additional information, you can just reach out to me, email me at stacy@networkinaction.com. This hour has gone by so fast. I'm so excited to have had y'all on the show. Thank you again to Josh and Christin Cherry, and thank you to all of our listeners. Wishing you a happy day and a happy Valentine's Day tomorrow. So everybody take care. We'll see you soon.
Stacy, thank you.
Thank you, Stacy.
Thank you for checking out this production of Lone Star Community Radio. Lone Star Community Radio is Montgomery County's community radio station. Don't forget to check out this show and many others across the Lone Star Community Radio Network, either live on Conroe's FM 104.5, 106.1, the Lone Star Internet Radio app, or irlonestar.com's live audio stream, and on replay on podcast, Channel 12's Our City TV and Conroe, or Channel 21 KVQT in Houston, and of course their YouTube channel. This production is copyrighted and all rights are reserved by Lone Star Community Radio. Have a question regarding this program or other Lone Star Community Radio shows? Want to sponsor or start your own show? Call the station message line at 936-647-3776 or email the station at lscrstudios@gmail.com.